These extra voices you're hearing right now are two individuals that, whether they admit to it or not, they may not feel the same way, and I still will feel the same way. I consider them brothers, Heather B. We've lived parallel lives on two separate sides of the country. They did something truly tremendously amazing when it comes to hip-hop culture, creating a platform that just elevated the careers of some of our favorite artists, our favorite stars. They represented the culture that they lived in, that they was immersed in, and helped spread it across the world, kept the integrity in it the entire time along the way. To me, they're fine examples of individuals, of creators come from a do-it-yourself.
I thought he was doing this
mentality.
all off the top of his head. He's reading this.
I'm not. No. What are you? That's not in here. That's me reading.
Oh, word. Okay. Oh shit.
No, I'm joking. That's off the top of the head. You can read this shit and say, I don't need any of that. No, these are. I'm pretty good. No, I'm not reading.
That's flawless. This is incredible.
No,
It's off the top of the head.
No, it's off the top of the head. This is my personal account of who I believe
that was sounding
you
incredible.
guys to be.
Can we get
Why
more of that?
did I interrupt him, right?
No,
My bad.
It was great.
Bob. You said, man, it's over, man. I've lost the feeling.
Yeah, let him know who he has sway. Chop, chop.
Yeah, Stretch Armstrong and
Yup,
Bobbito
that's it. You
Garcia
blew it.
are here, man.
Hey.
Yo, man, I'm about to give you a killer intro, too, man.
He lost the feeling like K. Michelle.
I was going like... But these guys, man, are juggernauts in this, pillars in this, and it's always great to see them. Sometimes I'm bumping to them in just really unexpected places that have nothing to do with music, or sometimes I might be at some event and see Stretch DJing or something, and it's just it's always a treat to see them and to have them on the show again. And thank you for including us in your documentary.
No, 100%.
Hopefully we'll get another cameo in a new one.
But the new film is already
Oh, damn it.
It's already done. Yeah. And I contacted you to invite you to the premiere, but I didn't get a response.
Did you? Oh, I got a new.
You got a new.
Yeah.
I got a new
Okay.
I got a new
I love it.
Yo, these interludes are incredible.
You like
Those are
it?
sound effects.
Sound
interludes. Yeah,
No,
let's just,
the other thing.
let's
about-
keep the terminology precise.
The other
man.
in the new film is called.
The new film is titled Rock, Rubber, 45s. It's an autobiographical documentary of my life. And
That's Bobbito talking.
yeah, rock is for the basketball, rubber's for the sneakers, 45s for the music and the hip hop. My last film that I directed was titled Stretch of Bobbito, Radio That Changed Lives. It was on Netflix and Showtime. Sway, you
Still
made a
is.
cameo. Oh, it still is. Cool,
Still
cool.
in, yeah.
And I appreciate your time and what you shared on camera about our shared history, not just me and Stretch's history, because we, the documentary was really reflective of everybody's college and mixed show experience, from the Will Stricklands in Houston to the Paul Pahars in Toronto. Yeah, see, I could, we could go layers, and of course the tech and sway. The sway and text of the KMEL former world,
Yes, what's
Yeah,
up, man?
so-
Yeah, man. And we're, it's a trip. It's 2018, damn it, and we're still here. And now you guys got the What's Good podcast, right?
That's right. We're season 2, actually. Our first season was last year. Last year was great. We had Dave Chappelle. We had Mahershala Ali, Rosie
Stevie
Perez,
Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, Chance the Rapper, Eddie Wong, Run the Jewels. This year we're launching next week, August 15th.
Okay.
We're really excited. We're kicking off with Erykah Badu.
Damn.
And yeah.
Hey, will you have Mahershala Ali on there? By the way, Heather, he's from Oakland. Did he spit or talk about his rapping career?
B, listen to the podcast, because actually I played a house record for him, and he did. He went Queen Latifah on us and did a hip house record. Off the top of the head rhyme.
It was a love rap.
Did he?
It was a love
it's
rap.
hilarious.
He was kicking it to a girl in a dark corner of a club with the sexy house beat behind.
Unexpected.
It's actually really hilarious.
Yeah.
If you want to see a really candid moment with a funny dude
Okay.
who happens to be an Oscar award winning.
Yeah.
You know
talent.
him from the Bay?
I know him from the Bay. I know him from.
He was in
when
the scene. Yeah,
he was running with Hieroglyphics crew.
Yeah.
I knew him as a rapper.
Right.
I didn't know him as an actor, but I guess all rappers are actors in their own way anyway. Especially now, you see some award-winning performances.
Can I still call you MC Sway?
You call me whatever you want.
Do your listeners know that you used to rhyme?
Yeah.
They do.
Well, yes. You know, Wonders played a track or two before. Yeah.
Okay.
And then early on when we first came on air, we used to freestyle every Friday. Horse would come up here. You know, we'll get a little,
Cipher going.
We would get a cipher going every Friday, and then I decided it was time for me to stop. One day I listened back and was like, oh, no, what am I doing? I wouldn't even let me on my show. Nah, but
that's why I never did it.
Yeah, right.
Too many receipts. Can't do it.
But I use that as a tool to say, hey man, sometimes you never know where you may end up. I came in the game as an MC, and we used to break on the West Coast, and now I never anticipated being on radio or TV and all these different things. But I just knew I wanted to work within the culture, and so rapping was my gateway into getting to where I am now. I tell them, Bob, do they know you spit too?
Nah. That was always just a comedic, a comedic hobby.
Okay. Thought you were setting up a battle or something, man.
No.
The Bob rhymes have not aged well.
Yeah, nah. Shit.
Hey, so look, A-Trak is going to come by later on, and I also A-Trak is going to come by, and I thought maybe we could do a version of What's Good mixed with the show, and we could all you guys could basically work, and I could watch you work, interview him.
Ace the homie will kick it.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
That's cool, and that could be an episode for What's Good, maybe if you want to use that.
I don't know how NPR would feel about that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so Bobbito, you gonna jump on the turntables for us?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I got a new film, Rock Rubber 45s. Stretch was the music supervisor on our last film. On this one, I was the music supervisor, and I was able to collect a phenomenal group of artists who I've been down with for many, many years, to contribute to the original film score. And the end title track is by Pharoah Monch and Jill Scott. I'm going to open up with that. But what I'm playing, though, is the original version. Monch wrote a verse inspired by the narrative of the film, but I don't have that on vinyl. And since I only play wax, I can't play that. But the 7-inch is already sold out on Fat Beats. It comes out in a couple weeks, and the film is out. It's on Vimeo. It drops on iTunes on August 15th. We did the Bay Area premiere at a spot called Red something. It was sold out, standing room only. We had people on the sidewalk. They had like a little sliver. They could see the screen. I mean, L.A. Regent Theater. We did Maisels in Harlem. We did BAM just the other night. So the film has been popping. We did the U.S. premiere at the Kennedy Center, me and Stretch.
Wow, that's dope.
And Rich Medina spun the after party. We did Central Park Summer Stage. That's the joint that I sent you the email for that you didn't respond to.
Okay, great. Thanks.
That part, he reminded you again you ain't coming.
Yeah, but we all multi-dimensional here, right? Yeah. So the film is expose of my hand in various cultures and communities worldwide, and Stretch our focus right now is the NPR podcast. But yes, I'm a filmmaker, and yes, me and him still DJ, and yes, I got my basketball tournament. So we all trying to do multiple things always at the same time, and the film kind of speaks to that freelance, creative New York global spirit. So I hope that you watch it. I'm gonna share the trailer with you in a second too. When I finish.
I promise I will
watch
it.
I brought some songs that are in the film.
Okay.
And big up to Eddie Palmieri for contributing. He's 10-time Grammy Award winner. Big up to the Do Rights who actually Jay Zone did drums for me and Stretch's score, and his partner Pablo Martin. They did some scoring for the film. Stretch, you enjoyed the film, right? The new one, Rock Rubber 45s. Can I get a cosign?
I really did.
You did?
Yeah. For me, that's Bob's my brother. I like to see. I thought I knew most things that were important about this man, and I learned a lot. He's been withholding, clearly.
Okay. Held out. Yeah.
But I teared up in that film and left having even more respect for Bob than I did prior.
Wow, that's what's up, man.
Word. And it got a New York Times critics pick, so it's out there. This way, I would love for you to see. Actually, we got a screening on August 15th down the block
In New York?
In New York, if you want to come see it.
What day is that on? That's a Thursday?
That's a Wednesday.
You guys can work this out.
Yeah,
No,
okay,
I'm
okay.
there.
Off
I'm
air,
there.
right?
Yeah, okay, cool.
All right, we can do that.
That's next week.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
At the
Okay.
Phillips
All right.
Auction House.
Hard-hitting radio.
Okay. I'm saying it online. I'm there.
All right, so I'm gonna play a couple of joints.
Okay.
But you know what? Me and Stretch are gonna split this up, right? 15 minutes, 15 minutes.
15, and
All right.
A-Trak gonna come in at 15.
I don't want to spend. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I don't have to spend after A-Track. I only spend before A-Track.
We don't
Should we do
spend
10?
we don't spend after A-Track.
Yeah, that's not cool.
We'll bring everybody in. Let's just start playing and we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
All right,
okay,
cool.
let's do
All
that.
right, peace. Enjoy the music.
All right, man. Tell them how they can reach you on social media, Bob.
Cool Bob Love with a K for the film is Rock Rubber 45s, and for me and Stretch, it's
Instagram is Stretch and Bobbito, and the Twitter is Stretch and Bob. Mine is Stretch Armstrong on both Twitter and Instagram. Word up.
Shade 45. That was live last week, Force and Bees, Golden Slaves Universe. You can see that entire interview. Man, I want to give a big round of applause, man, for Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito Garcia for blessing our airways once again. And congratulations on the film, the new film. Bob, congratulations.
thank you, man. It's titled Rock Rubber 45s.
In case you haven't.
Rock
And
Rubber
and just
45.
for people to understand, I mean, you know, Stretch and I, we have a deep history with mixed show radio, hip hop radio, but understand that our What's Good with Stretch and Bobbito podcast on NPR
Yeah.
is not a mixed show. You know, we don't play freestyles. It's an interview based, you know, program where we get deep with cats, talking to them about hopefully untold stories or layers of narrative that aren't necessarily approached on other shows. And we're very proud of it, I would say. Right, Stretch? Just because I see you looking over there. You're not even looking at me.
Stretch just drifted off while you were talking. Hey, man, are you reading that, bro?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the NPR podcast, the films, you know, everything that we up to. Stretch, you want to talk about your book?
Stretch,
Let's put out a book.
Sure.
You didn't know?
Well, it's not actually. Can we mention who we're sitting with right now?
Well,
I mean, can
okay.
we
We're gonna
time
get to
into the
him.
conversation because
we can.
I mean,
because
this is a full circle moment right now.
this is a full circle moment, and then what I like to do is do a kind of like a version of What's Good right here live
Well,
on the air.
it's just going to happen spontaneously.
Okay, that's how
That's
it
just
happens.
what happens,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead, take it over.
But
Now, go for it.
no, Bob. Before we get to our illustrious guest, now we're hosting, I guess, right? Yeah, it's true. I do have a book out. It's called No Sleep: NYC Nightclub Flyer artwork from 1989 to 1999.
And it's bananas.
And it's sort of a
incredible.
visual
Yeah.
history of I would say the last really important era of the New York City nightclub. Not saying clubs aren't important, they are, but this is the end of a particular era that we were blessed to have played a role in.
Did it sell out?
We're I think in the third pressing.
Oh, wow. So it
Yeah.
sold out twice.
Yeah.
Damn.
And around the corner, in a few weeks, we're going to be doing a little in-store at a lovely boutique that's affiliated with a very important cultural cornerstone called Fool's Gold
Yes.
in Brooklyn. And that's a beautiful segue into who we have to our right here, the brother A-Trak.
I walked into a beautiful setting here, beautiful session here. This is great.
It's bugged out. It's seeing him look like an adult.
I know
I
you
still
got
got
the
13-year-old
especially
face.
from well, you edited, you spent a lot of time in the editing room of Stretch and Bobbito, Radio That Changed Lives, and in that film, A-Trak makes an appearance as an adult, which
Eating
is,
pizza.
That's right.
Oh,
Well,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were at our 20th anniversary.
That's right, at
Yeah.
KCR,
Uh-huh.
and I mean that was a beautiful night, and then to have it documented in the film. So I'm just curious, like how, if you've got this indelible image of A-Trak as a 13-year-old,
True.
which
Maybe 15.
No, I think you were 15. It was
Yeah,
1997.
no, 13 is when you start. Right,
Yeah.
I have that.
Exactly.
I have the number 13 stuck in my head
Well,
when
but
it
you
comes
know,
to you because that's when you started DJing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then within just 2 short years, you became a phenom, which is a lot of people hate you for that. Just basically.
We turned the hate to love. Yeah. So when I was 15, I was a guest on
Right,
on
okay.
the show, on the Stretch and Bobbito show.
Yeah, 13 would have
Well,
been ridiculous. And
it
you
wa-
came up with.
Was that? Sorry.
And
I
you
came
came
up.
up
Yeah,
with-
I came up with the Executioners.
That's right, Rock Raider.
Rest in peace to Rock
Rest in
Raider.
Power. That's a
Rob
brother.
Swift was there that night.
Yeah. I
Uh,
remember I did a routine with the Indelible MCs, Fire in Which You Burn,
Ooh.
Wow.
on the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, at 15?
Yeah.
You were 15. Did y'all think he was good? Did you think he was talented?
Oh, I mean,
It was
listen,
bananas.
anybody
Yeah.
that the X-Men, or I'm sorry, Executioners co-sign was like, yeah, I mean, you had the same thing with your show. Like Big L brought up Mace
Yeah.
and well, Murder Mace and Killer Cam. We anybody that Big L brought up, we trusted.
He also
you know?
brought up
Okay.
a guy named Jay-Z.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I mean, similarly, like if Raider and Rob Swift and Joe Sinister, were like, yo, we want to bring up a kid named A-Trak. Like, oh yeah, sure. Like,
Okay.
sight unseen, unheard,
Mm-hmm.
but they're co-signing. So, but I think at that point you had already won.
I had just won the DMC World Championships. Yep. And I was, on a trip to New York. I was living in Montreal, but on a trip to New York, and the Executioners said, "Hey, come with us to Stretch and Bobbito's radio show." So for me, it was incredible.
Not his trippy thing was that night happened to be recorded by Big Les from
BET.
Rap
Wow,
City
from
on
Rap
BET.
City.
Yeah,
Yes.
she had already set up that date, and it just happened to be that A-Trak was there, and you know what I mean. It was just like everything just. And Pharoah Monch and Lord Finesse were up there that night too.
That's
Lord
right.
Finesse.
Did you
Yeah.
end up? Did your routine end up being aired on BET a little bit? Do you know?
I don't think so. I just know that the
Wah, wah,
routine
wah.
was then. Yeah.
Edit it out.
By the way, I didn't
to
have
kill a
BET
moment,
in Canada, so I don't know. I know that it was on, the cassettes of the radio show that
Sure.
people passed around. I don't think it was on BET. I do remember I really had an embarrassing moment when, because she was hosting that day, right?
Yeah.
And I think at one point she saw me as like, a prepubescent Canadian kid scratching. And she asked me on the air, so I'm like, A-Trak, well, I'm curious, what does hip hop mean to you? What is hip hop? And like I wasn't really used to being interviewed. Like, I knew how to control my nerves in terms of like doing a DJ routine.
Yeah.
But like to have to come up with an answer, I think I choked. I don't remember what I said. I said something silly. So
You're like,
I
speak with my hands.
I'll always remember choking. Yeah. But I did. Yeah, I met Finesse. I remember, and the Organized Confusion guys. I remember, because Prince Bo used to have like the spikes on
Yeah.
all that shit.
Mach.
Forgot about
I
that.
think Mach still rocks spikes once in a while. Black
Yeah.
leather and spikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Strong
does
look.
that.
Strong look.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I came back to the radio show a year later. I had there was an underground rap group from Montreal that I worked with called Obscure Disorder.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to play that 12 inches.
Right,
Yeah,
and
they
then
were
and
dope.
then I brought them to the show a year later.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I was a guest twice in my teens.
Damn,
Privilege.
man. You was the man in
honor.
Canada for that, right?
I mean, the whole thing was amazing. It's still appreciated.
Hey, did you listening to the Shea 45 version of What's Good? No disrespect to NPR. Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito are here, and A-Trak is the guest for this version of the show. Go ahead, fellas. Y'all want to talk with them? 888-742-3345. Me and Heather and I are here too, but we're just enjoying.
We could take calls.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, let's take calls, man. You here today to talk what you're talking about today, man? You came up here for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that I love everyone in this room, but yes.
Thank you.
Fool's Gold Day Off is this Saturday.
This Saturday.
Yeah. So Fool's Gold Day Off is an event that we put on. Fool's Gold's my label, and this is the 9th year we do this. And it's an event in New York City at Knockdown Center Saturday in the daytime. So we've been doing these daytime festivals for a while now. And I'm really excited about the lineup this year. You know, we always pull together an interesting mix of artists, and this year we kind of decided to really focus more than ever on emerging artists and on supporting kind of like the new generation. I think for a long time there wasn't really that many other rap festivals for a period of a few years, so we could just kind of like play fantasy camp with it and put together these really like heterogeneous, like really mixed lineups. But this year we thought let's really just focus more than anything on these new exciting names, because there's such a boom in hip hop. So you know, Sheck West, Comethazine, China, Baby Mother, a lot of female artists, by the way, like particularly more than any other year. Venus X, Jubilee, Warhol SS from Chicago, World's Fair, who just put out an incredible album on Fool's Gold. Michael Christmas, who's also on Fool's Gold, Tabby Wakes, many more. So it's a really fun lineup. And then just for fun, we also added them Franchise Boys.
The franchise.
Because why not?
Because
why not?
I didn't know they were new.
Well, you know, there's always one twist.
Where you find them Franchise Boys? Like, where'd you find them?
I like to track people down.
Really?
It's always everyone's kind of one connection away. So them Franchise Boys. Shout out to Pimpin' is the main guy I've been talking to. He's great. Shout out to Pimpin' from the Franchise Boys. They're just as excited as we are.
That's this Saturday, man. I've had great times coming.
Yeah.
I'm always there. I'm in the cut.
You've been there for years.
Yeah.
And so, part of the vision for the event this year, and the way I was describing it, how we focused almost completely on the discovery aspect of the event, is just kind of realizing that that's what people talk back to us the most about over the years. There's been plenty of years where there would be a headliner who might be more known, or this artist or that artist, but what people seem to remember the most about Fool's Gold Day Off is saying, well, that's the first time I saw the ASAP guys on stage, or that's the first time I saw Flatbush Zombies, or the LA events we do. We had Travis Scott perform a bunch of years, very early in his career too. Even putting, I think it's the first festival stage that A-Rap Music did his amazing performance at, which he then went on to play a bunch of other festivals. So building that bridge and putting those artists on that stage that an audience will see, and then time and time again, 6 months later, they realize, well, that artist is now everywhere. That discovery process that Fool's Gold has become known for, we decided to just double down on that and make that the main focus.
It's like a Stretch and Bob for the new generation.
You go do that?
I mean,
I think about it.
I'm flattered.
I wish we had the internet when we were on the radio, because we could have had a damn festival.
You could have a festival. But there's so many festivals now. Like I've gone to a lot. What through your trial and error, what works? What makes a great festival?
Well, I think it's important for the festival to have an identity, to stand for something, and to kind of understand who their audience is. And because, basically because of the fact that there's so many festivals on the market, everyone's feeling the pressure to book someone that has a certain draw, or to sell tickets, because a lot of them are actually like not able to survive now, the festivals themselves. So there's this pressure to go and book whoever's selling a lot, but that also takes away from the identity of some of the festivals. Because for instance, you'll have like certain EDM festivals that'll book a popular rapper, which is cool, and I'm very pro cross-pollination myself. But even indie rock festivals booking like top 40 pop artists and things like that, and so there ends up being like a little bit of a blurring of what stands for what, and what's the experience of this festival versus that festival. So for one to do well, I think it's important to really stand for something, and to have, in today's reality with how visual everything is, it boils down to an aesthetic too. So I think everything needs to be really tight between, what the experience stands for. Does the feel of the artwork match it? Does every detail match what that vibe is? Some of them even go into experiential things. There's a lot of festivals that have, some of them will do like amusement park rides and things like that, whatever it is. But if it has to stand for a certain feeling and experience.
You don't want to do a festival stretch. Go ahead, man. Let that dude. That's a lot involved right there, man.
Well, we had the Rocksteady Crew Festival.
Yeah. I even used to perform around the same years that I would go and visit.
Yeah, back in the '90s. So there is precedent.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like you came up to our show in the '90s. I kind of like stepped away from hip hop, and then years later, Stretch was like, "Yo, Fool's Gold wants to do T-shirts for our 20th anniversary." I was
That's
like,
right.
"What is Fool's Gold?" I didn't even have a clue.
Right.
So for the audience who may not even know what the label represents or how you transition from being a DJ to a label head, I'm just curious to hear that history.
Yeah, sure. And I still
This is he put the "What's Good" hat on.
I like that.
This is
I listen to
NPR.
the
Sound good.
By the way, the running the label hasn't replaced the DJ hat.
That's right.
There's
This man is on the road constantly.
yeah, I'm still DJing full time, but basically, the original history of Audio Research, my first record label, when the one that released that group Obscure Disorder and a few other things. So even going back to I feel like coming up in
And
the
that was a great logo.
Your
Your artwork
thank
is
you.
actually
Yeah, appreciate it.
That was dope.
Appreciate it. So, coming up in that mid to late 90s era hip hop, during the boom of the indie scene, during the height of Raucous and Fat Beats and all that era instilled a certain DIY sense in me, where even then when I was just a teenager, I saw that it's not that complicated to create projects with your friends and to get things out the door, and that you don't really need gatekeepers or someone else to do things for you. So that's something that I learned from then. Meanwhile, I was just kind of building my DJ career, touring, getting a sort of international profile going after I did the battles. And then, as worked with Kanye for a while.
I
And
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, I toured with Kanye for 4 years
Oh.
and helped with some of the projects in the earlier years. And
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm catching up with an old friend. Stretch knows me. I see Stretch.
No, I
all the
know,
time.
but I don't. I need. I'm
good.
learning right now.
It's good.
Bob,
catch
Bob
up, so-
comes out once in a while.
Bobbito.
He steps out his house. He wants to know what's going on.
I was like, you tour with whom?
I've heard of him.
Right. Well, so yeah, I met Kanye right after College Dropout came out. So around the first 4 years of his albums, College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation.
What's commonly referred to as the old Kanye.
Yeah, true. So that kind of that definitely gave another. It was another jetpack to my career. Like, it propulsed me to another level of visibility. And as this sort of battle scene was going through growing pains, that kind of took me somewhere else. And also in the process, I got into a lot of electronic music and kind of really mixed up my styles more and learned how to produce myself. And through doing remixes and things like that, built my producer profile too. But it got to a point where, as blogs and MySpace and the internet were really starting to play a big role in culture, I saw that on one hand, the record industry in the traditional model was really starting to crumble, and it was the Napster years, and people didn't know how to deal with downloads, and the bigger labels really felt like dinosaurs who didn't really see what was going on in the underground. But meanwhile, through a lot of my movements, and I wasn't even living in New York yet, but I was starting to spend more and more time here. I was seeing a lot of really cool new music that was happening, that was kind of like blending different genres, and there was just a lot going on, sort of like on the ground, and no one was really grabbing those artists and presenting them to the world. So I kind of put my Fat Beats hat back on, in a sense. It kind of it woke up that side of me from the 90s era that knew how to do indie projects, and that's what birthed Fool's Gold. So Fool's Gold was born really from that. I linked up with a friend of mine, a DJ and journalist from an art director from New York called Nick Catchdubs, and the two of us.
Oh, he's the one that did the T-shirt.
Actually, I think did Dust do it?
Dust did it, yeah.
So right, the third partner, rest in peace, Dust LaRock, was our in-house art director for the record label. Incredible artist, illustrator, just phenomenal artist. Passed away a few years ago, but I'm glad he was able to do that T-shirt for you guys. So that was the beginning of Fool's Gold, and right from the start, Fool's Gold was very much of a more than a label, kind of a lifestyle company, community-minded, doing a lot of events of different sizes and really trying to mesh different scenes together. So whether it be in those years where there was really cool, new, kind of gritty electronic music coming out of Europe that had a hip-hop flair to it, mixing those artists with the newer underground from the U.S., and also kind of bringing back we've done a lot of the sort of tasteful throwbacks. We would go to LA and do an event with a bunch of new kids, but we would put like DJ Quick on the lineup, that sort of thing. Or we would do a New York event with, again, a lot of the newer rappers, but put the Locks on stage and really trying to bridge those gaps. And that, like, over the years, I would say that sort of exercise of building bridges, whether it be between generations in hip hop or between hip hop and other branches of music that I find interesting, that's been something that I've focused on a lot, because I found that I'm in a position where I'm able to build those bridges. That's kind of unique. So that's become more and more of a focus for me.
You're listening to the voice of A-Trak, and also we got Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito here.
What up?
It's a it's a special edition of What's Good. You can find a new podcast on NPR here.
NPR.org/What's Good.
Okay.
And it premieres, the second season premieres August 15th.
Yeah, and I'd encourage everyone to catch up on the first season. Again, we had Stevie Wonder, Mahershala Ali, Rosie Perez,
Linda Sarsour,
Eddie Wong,
Run the Jewels.
Run the Jewels.
Run the Jewels, whose first album was on Fool's Gold.
Yeah.
Oh, word.
Yeah. This man been working, huh?
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys something real quick? This is
No.
DJ Wonder speaking. Bobbito, please. All right. So Forbes put out their list of top earning DJs for 2018. One part is these are your guys' peers. You play with them all, pause. You play next to them at all times, and you know them very well. How do you feel about the numbers for festivals? Is it ever going to pop? And part two, which I don't really care about because I'm trying to get some of this money, it's all white males. You understand? Yeah. There's no females on the list, and I think Afrojack and Steve Aoki are only two minorities on the list, whatever. So how do you feel about those two things?
Asking me?
Everybody.
Or everybody. That last point you made especially, I think, is important to change. Like there needs to be more minorities that are visible in the DJ space, whether it be electronic music or any genre, and more women for sure. DJing definitely is probably more than ever in need of diversity.
Okay, y'all want to tackle that real quick?
Well, we come from an era where hip hop was extremely male dominated, and we really, I think we were some of the earliest people to really make a concerted effort to get women involved. We had women interns, and anytime there was a woman MC, she was more than welcome, as long as, she had the merits.
Sure. As with anybody.
Yeah. I know that for what we're doing right now on NPR, we were really, really striving to get as many women guests on. That's been like at the top of the list. Women, we need women.
Yeah.
So we're all about that, and got to commend Fool's Gold. I mean, you guys, you've been very vocal about that on social media.
Thanks.
Man, I want to thank y'all for coming by this morning, man. This is like an absolute treat. Man, Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito Garcia. These are, like I said, brothers. Hold on. These are brothers to me. We came up in parallel universes. Who misspelled universes? No, just joking. But guys, come back too, man. You gotta come back, man.
Yeah.
Come back, man.
100%, man.
All right, if y'all want the audio for this to use it for NPR, let me know. A-Trak, DJ's Gotta Dance More, huh?
Yep.
That's the new single?
That's the new record.
With Todd Terry.
Todd Terry.
Woo. Yes.
Yeah.
How'd you
the
get
guy.
Todd Terry? Do you hang out with Todd Terry?
Yeah.
That's the man.
Todd's
What
great.
the fuck? He said, yeah.
Can you feel
Todd's the big homie. It's important I keep OGs in my life. It's important. So I think you know about Duck Sauce,
Yes.
right? So Duck Sauce is a project that I do with Armand Van Helden. And Armand is kind of my OG, and Todd is Armand's OG.
Mm-hmm.
So through Armand, I've gotten to hang out with Todd many times. He's just always been so cool. And I was working on a track a couple months ago, and I just had it's kind of it's a house record, but not a big aggressive festival house record, more of like a vibey, soulful kind of jazzy thing. And I just had this instinct. Actually, I played it to my brother, and he said, "You should get someone to speak on this," because that's that's always been a thing. The house record with the guy who speaks.
Could have been Mahershala Ali.
Yeah. Right? Or like a Mike Dunn record or something. I was thinking I was just thinking who would sound great, and thinking about the New York identity, even though, you guys know I'm from Montreal, but New York is really like my inspiration still to this day, aesthetically and just, on a soul and kind of vibe level. And I thought of Todd, just from us being homies, and he's got a great voice. And I asked him if he would just speak on the record. And it turned into DJ's Gotta Dance More.
There it is, man. I do think DJ's got to dance.
This DJ does not need to dance more.
Fellas, I want to thank y'all for coming by this
Maybe
morning,
I
man.
do. I don't know.
Give it up for Stretch and Bobbito, man.
All right.
A-Trak, thank you for coming
Thank
through.
you.
All right, don't forget Fool's Gold Day off this weekend, New York City.
Get your tickets at fgdayoff.com.
Get them where?
fgdayoff.com.
There it is. We got First Aid with Kelly Kincaid up next. Nasty C is going to join us from South Africa after that. Sway the Morning Shade 4-5.